Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, and today I wanted to talk about transitioning into a writing career in your 30s. So I always knew that I wanted to write, but I didn't know that television was going to be my calling. Now, I always had characters in my head, but it wasn't until I had to write a short film for a contest that I actually thought that I actually could write for television, and it was something that I wanted to do. So by the time I was 30, I worked in various industries: news, digital media, research, finance, architecture, not to mention I had a ton of side hustles. So when I fully decided to dedicate myself to becoming a writer, I had this really deep-seated panic about starting over. So by the end of my 20s, I was in a managerial position, and I could have pushed to be a director or something more, something larger within my company. And so the idea of starting over or working my way back up again was really something that I didn't want to do, and it wasn't an exciting thought for me. But I also had this really deep longing to cultivate this dream that I now had for myself. And so, the bottom line is I just wasn't really happy at the job that I was working. I wasn't fulfilled. And I knew that there was something greater for me. So I had to step out on faith, and I really had to try it. So originally I thought I was late in the game by trying to be a writer in my 30s. I turned 30 out here in Los Angeles, and I didn't get my first writing job, like working in a writer's room, until I was 31. But this came from the idea that I mainly thought that writers' rooms were made up of baby writers, like writers in their mid-20s, or they had just graduated school and then they went on to get staffed. So I realized that was a really big misconception. Once I started getting into writers' rooms, the more I realized that writers' room, the ages, they vary. And it's really more so about your experiences over how old you are. So a waiting room is a really diversified room. And that's, whether your experience is as a scientist, a teacher, a hostage negotiator, or a stay-at-home parent, what you've learned over the course of your life really is what gives you that select knowledge that you can contribute to a room. So there are a lot of writers who change their careers later in life. Like the biggest person who comes to mind is actually Ava DuVernay, because she was a publicist well into, I believe, her 40s before she transitioned into being a filmmaker. Also, people like Rashad Mendenhall, he was a football player who he's now a story editor and a writer on Ballers on the HBO show. So that just adds to the fact that there are so many writers who have specialized skills, such as being a lawyer or a doctor, and they've gone on to write for shows like CSI, Law and Order, SVU, or just some type of medical procedural show, because they have specified knowledge working in those industries. Also, even if you don't have job experience that's specific to the show, every show that you watch, you see characters with different backgrounds, ethnicities, ages. And so even if you feel like you have no experience that really makes you stand out from a job perspective, you have a wealth of knowledge alone that makes you a significant resource in addition to the room. What's also really important is to discuss the mindset that I had coming out here in my 30s versus my 20s. So in my 20s, I could sacrifice personal space, I could have roommates, etc. In my 30s, not so much. I wanted to make sure I had like a reasonable amount of savings before moving out here, so I could live comfortably and know that if I needed to get an apartment by myself, which is what I did, I would be able to afford it. Housing is really difficult out here. Like finding affordable housing is really difficult. And so I really wanted to make sure that I'd be able to pay my bills, I would be able to live comfortably and not really stress about, any of my living situations or having to room with strangers that I didn't know. Those are just things that I didn't really want to think about or have to put up with in my 30s. Also, I knew I wanted to make a certain amount of money. Now, this is difficult, okay? Because moving out here in LA, I was lucky enough that I transitioned with my job that I had in DC. So I was able to make it work for a little while, and I was able to give myself a really solid foundation. But if you don't move out here with a job and you're coming out here just kind of like open season, you have to kind of know what is the amount of money that I'm trying to make per week to survive out here. What is the amount of money I'm trying to make per month to survive out here? In my 20s, I would have been really like, oh, I'm free and it's like whatever. I could be homeless and live in my car if I want to. And no, in my 30s, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not the goal. So, I think it's a little bit of my mindset was like, yes, I can take change, but also I need some sort of stability. So I think that's important to keep in mind, before you move out here. You're going to start building your network and you're gonna start meeting people who run in the circles that you want to be in. But until then, you really have to get yourself in the mindset that until I can be writing for television, I'm gonna work on my journalistic pursuits. I'm gonna write for articles. I'm gonna do blogs. Maybe I'm gonna be a video producer. So it's really important to come out here and have a really direct focus. And even if, you know, you're not in a space where you're moving right into a writing room, you're still doing something that's similar to what you're trying to do. But the biggest thing that I want to impart on you guys is that you can do this at any age. You just have to know what you want and know the direction that you're trying to go in so you can keep going that way. Don't limit yourself into thinking that because I've had 2 or 3 different careers in, you know, my 20s through my 30s, that now when I'm 44, I can't become a television writer. You're actually a prime example, you're a perfect person and a perfect candidate to become a writer because you've had so many experiences unrelated to writing. And having experiences like that are outside of a writing room is what makes you valuable. It's what makes you resourceful. It's what opens your mind and makes you, you know, capable of really bringing different ideas and a different mindset to the room itself that you're going to work in. So, you know, if I can impart anything on you from this video, don't limit yourself. No matter what age you are, what background you are, what color you are, ethnicity, whatever, you can do this. It's something that, you know, you have inside of you to do. You just have to take the steps to get there. You just have to take the steps to do it. So that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. Please like, comment, and subscribe and watch my other videos. I have one on being a Hollywood assistant, a writer's PA, a showrunner's assistant, and a writer's assistant, and a ton of other videos on this channel. So please comment and subscribe. And just remember, if you are going from home to Hollywood, you got this. Do not limit yourself. You got this. Bye.